So yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to I guess it's not the first Hamza town hall, but it's the first one christening our this move to the new Discord with, and it's just a place. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wait, waiting music. I think waiting music is on the client side, David. So there should be like a button in the bottom left to mute music or unmute music. Did that solve it for you? I see, I see.
Yeah, this is fancier, Bo. It's like speaker audience.
Yeah, I have it muted for me. I don't know how to turn it off like at the system level, or if it's even possible to turn it off at the system level. I'm sure it must be. But if it's not too much of a problem, then and you can mute it yourself, then maybe we can just go ahead and get started. Okay, cool. So it's been a long time since we've done a more general town hall. And we wanted to just sort of start up the tradition again and give some updates on what's been going on generally with the platform, the sort of trajectory of where we're going, and then open up the floor for just as an AMA for any questions that anybody has for me and Mike. I think going forward and in the future, we may do some interviews with I know Mike is going to be doing some interviews with sellers on Twitter Spaces over the course of the next few weeks. But we may do some internal interviews here with some developers and some people on the operations staff. But yeah, for now, we'll just do a little bit of an update and then open the floor up for questions. So, I mean, as most of you, I'm familiar with almost everyone in the audience at this point, but not everyone. We've been live for a few months now. We've been aggressively adding features, and to the point where we're now deployed on multiple chains. We're processing transactions. We're processing transactions from people that we don't know, which is nice. People who we haven't directly reached out to or anything like that. So we're starting to get some natural traction. We are starting to see the page views tick up. We're getting a little bit more revenue into the system. And then we also produced our white paper and launched or kicked off our fundraising round. And to give a little bit of insight into that, so we produced a white paper which was very much a draft. I don't know if everybody's here has had a chance to take a look at it, but it presented an idea for the tokenomics, and then we started distributing that around to get some legal opinions. Oh, can people hear me?
I hear you the whole time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not just sure what to say, David. It might be, I don't know. It could be you, could be me, but yeah, as long as nobody else has a problem, I'll just keep on going.
Yeah, I think just keep going.
Yeah, so we distributed the white paper. We gave it around to get some legal opinions and to get some just opinions from other advisors and experts in the field, and we got a lot of really good feedback. I do think that we may end up changing some things in the near future. That nothing is fully decided yet. But in terms of the token, the one that has been described as the Hamza token is likely only going to be distributed internally and as part of a limited public or a private equity sale, because it looks an awful lot like a security. And so we don't want to do a public sale of it. We just want to use it as a rewards for the team and as an internal governance token. And then we may move forward with launching a more a speculative utility-driven token, which we've been calling DCOM, sort of at the same time, but with a much more limited functionality than what we had first theorized for it. But the base functionality being that it would be required to pay the transaction fees or the protocol fees for any initiation of an escrow contract, which has its own sort of cool implications for what it means we have to do in terms of spinning up liquidity pools for each of the currency pairs that it'll be operating on. But yeah, so we've got a lot. We've started that fundraising round. We've got features pushed. We've got a lot of work has been done on the token and the DAO. I should be releasing the NFT for the sale that we did in November later today. And yeah, that's what's been going on sort of on the tech and Web3 side. Mike, do you want to give us an update on what's been going on in terms of the actual operation and sales and everything like that?
Sure. So we're we're proud to say we're a working product, like Bo says. We have real customers, real orders happening on the platform, and we are scaling that up even during this call. Our lead dev John has given me some data that there's some orders. I'm losing track. I used to know most of the people buying. I'm losing track of. I don't think I know all of the buyers. I know most of the sellers still, but it's just really exciting. And like you said, we're gonna have a Twitter space or X Spaces. I feel weird when I say X Space, so I'm going to call it Twitter Space Thursday, where we're going to take a few of our first sellers. So we just opened up a cohort of 5 sellers that were onboarded to the production or the live Hamza.market last week, mid to late last week. And we're building in public. We could have waited for another few months or half a year to have everything perfect, but we wanted to have a working build in public environment. So it is a little bit rough on the edges. I'm literally explaining to Jose about the escrow release button for his book, but it's exciting times. And so we're working on a regular process of onboarding sellers and products, where with regular Twitter spaces starting this Thursday, just like this first town hall, we're going to have regular Twitter spaces for decom talks is what we call it for now. And we'll spotlight some of the vendors and some of the product. We talk about some of the transactions. So more about, like you said, the operations of the business, answering people's questions about what we're doing and trying to engage the community. But it's definitely getting exciting. We're also working to standardize the procedures, SOPs, this is the keyword, standard operating procedures for onboarding sellers, servicing buyers, support documents. Jose here, who'll probably come up later. Jose is doing great as always, being flexible. Lots of things are changing, and we're building as we go. So we're figuring out how to leave reviews now. I think the review button just got added. The seller console is very manual. The seller process is very manual. You cannot be a seller automatically. We have to kind of manually add you and manually add the products. But I don't know about you, Bo, but I actually prefer it this way, where we get to actually build with users alongside them rather than kind of guessing what people want. So we're even changing some of our priorities based on some of the requests from sellers. So it's been exciting.
I will prefer it when it's fully automated, but I agree that I like the process that we're building through the automated process with the view of like what sellers actually need, and seeing, I mean, like we talked about it this morning, but like even seeing some of the places where there's some like pretty obvious features that should have been added that we're like, oh well, that makes a lot of sense. It's not incredibly hard to implement, and so getting those things added to the dev sprints and making sure that we're just making this experience as easy as possible.
Great, man. Yeah. So we're also, so we're trying to just kind of improve the process and the team and the procedures and scale. I talked to a potential investor just this weekend, and he's like, "Oh, scale it." I'm like, We're adding on all these. The bus is moving. We're adding on, and so he's interested. He's happy to hear that and to follow up with some more information.
Yeah, I mean, like it makes me think about like it's been. I don't remember the last time we had a town hall. It must have been in like summer of last year. But it's like kind of wild to think about just how far we've come since we did these, or even like the one that we did in like January of 2024, when we had just started building everything and getting like we were. I remember, doing a dev update when we had just selected the Medusa framework as the one that we were going to be using the JavaScript implementation, and it's just like talked a little bit about that. And given the distance that we've covered since then to now, we're like, things I think are still a little janky. If please excuse my language, but they're working. We're processing orders. It's pretty fucking cool. We can watch them on Etherscan. We're seeing payments get released and things like that. And so it's taking in view of the like sort of small victories that we have had. And I mean, I think we have much clearer vision of the future. One of the other things that I wanted to do in this town hall is like sort of in the spirit of like actually having a town hall is thinking a little bit about community governance. And we have a lot of people here who are like would be involved in governing our community. And so I hope that all of you should have access to it, or at least most of you should have access to it. There's a channel in here called the internal team proposals, and the internal team proposals are basically like governance proposals for implementing certain things that affect the community. And there's one open one right in there right now called the token compensation revamp. Anybody who was at our Kumbaya on Friday, I talked about it there, but please go and take a look if you haven't had a chance to look at it. What's up, Chris? Oh, well, goodbye, Chris. And but yeah, so that's one of the other purposes of like having the town hall is to start opening up discussion on these team proposals. And the first one is just a revamp of how we do fiat compensation versus token compensation. And so that's sort of unless Mike, do you have anything more you'd like to talk about before I'm jumping into that?
I like it, but maybe I just see for myself, but probably others, who can or should be able to access what you're, because this is this a, or maybe even clarify who should be listening to this. I believe you're okay with this being recorded. This will be recorded in public, in the following days. But who are we engaging with for that? I'm not even sure your answer. I'm curious to hear your answer. Who could? I'd love to involve the wider community, but can they at this point, or who would be able to access this, or how could people access this?
Well, so like I said, it's an internal team proposal.
Internal, okay.
I mean, I think part of the exercise here is about talking about these sorts of issues in public and talking about the different things that we're planning on doing in governance in public. Because I don't think there's anything privileged about this proposal. It's how the DAO chooses to engage with its contractors and the mechanism by which compensation is awarded to contractors. And so this is a proposal of how a framework for negotiating that. And yeah, if you would I mean, I don't know. Do you think we should move that into a more public forum? Because right now everybody here has access to it besides Huasca, unfortunately, sorry, I don't know, or I don't know that we've ever met before, but I imagine not a part of the team.
I guess the reason I bring it up is for the archives and for us, but maybe over time it could evolve to be a public community proposal. But for now, it's a team only proposal. But we'll discuss it in the public, is what you said. So I think that's good. So then these would be discussed in this format of a call, and this is planned to be every 2 weeks. Am I correct in saying this is like a bi-weekly? Are we going to do this every 2 weeks approximately? I mean, or I guess if needed, or I'm just trying to give more like this kind of structure for myself as well as those listening.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think it's welcome, boss. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said, this is the first one that we've done in a while, and so it's about establishing these sort of governance rituals and how do we go about discussing the things that we need to do. And this is so an open house town hall is it would be a time for people to make open proposals, to have a discussion about what they think ought to change about the DAO. I do think it should be, the discussion should be open to anyone, so it should be transparent. Anybody can watch and listen. But if you've read our white paper, then one of the core philosophies that I think I have is about you don't want to give everyone permission to make a proposal if they have no stake. And that is not only from a civil resistance and security perspective, you don't want the DAO itself from at a contract level to be overloaded with proposals that need to be cleared before anything else can be done. And so part of this is about who has the power to make a proposal and then demand a vote on something, because also it's you don't want to overload people with governance pressure. I mean, for instance, right, the internal team proposal on compensation. The reason why I kind of want to bring it up is I haven't got a single comment on it. And it does affect sort of everybody in the DAO if we were to adopt something like that. And we need a system to understand what should we move to in terms of token compensation. And I think there's a lot of moving pieces that go into that discussion, but that's why I would like to have that discussion. But generally, yeah, I have no problem with these things being posted. I don't think we're discussing anything sensitive. And I think it's the ethos of the DAO to be a little bit more open and honest about the things that we're considering.
Great.
So with that said, yeah, I do think that this should happen once every 2 weeks. I think we need to develop some sort of cadence for governance and just get into the practice of doing it. And then ideally, as the community grows, as we have more and more stakeholders, as we have more and more voters that have a stake and where decisions will impact them, then we have a forum for actually like having these discussions.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, just thought before we jumped into proposals. So this would be like the first proposal of today's town hall, right? So we kind of opened up, almost trying a template for these calls. So we warmed it up, gave some updates, and then we jumped into this first proposal, right? It's kind of the format, just to, again, circle back.
Yeah.
And this is the first one, token compensation proposal, just to help everybody understand.
I'm sorry, you broke up with that.
I was, I'm just trying to help, and maybe it's not helpful, but I'm trying to back up, make sure everybody understands. So we kind of opened up this town hall, gave a couple of updates, like you share some things, I share some things, and then this is like the first proposal that we're starting with in today's town hall. I hope
We'll see. I mean, I think that we should let it evolve as it happens, right? And I'd like to do some other things with the town hall. Again, like I said, have some interviews and talk to people about their philosophies and their feedbacks and on the things and the directions that we're going and the things that we're doing. But yeah, I mean, one thing to note is that this is specific to that this is like about Hamza, right? And Hamza is the company that is running. It's a DAO, but like a company that's running the front end for this e-commerce marketplace. And so yeah. Anytime we need to make a decision about something that requires a vote, this should be the place where we discuss it. But yeah, I mean, we can also open up with a whole bunch of different things. We can have interviews. We can have dev updates. I don't think it's set in stone what this should be, other than it's a forum for us to discuss and give updates on what's going on inside Hamza.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
And so with that said, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about this proposal. Just raise your hand if you've had a chance to look at it.
And how would people raise? Do people know?
Well, I mean, I think you can react, right? Like you can.
Even I'm having, it's like a different interface. I'm not even finding the react person.
Thumbs up.
I see your thumbs up, but even I'm not seeing
thumbs up in the chat if you've read it. No worries. Again, we're talking more of it to the team at this point, but okay. So it seems like not everybody has really had a chance to look over it yet. I think we talked a little bit about it on Friday, but the general structure of it, no. So Jose, I'm not talking about our white paper. I'm talking about the compensation revamp document. So if you go to the left in the Hamza Discord, there's a place for the core team, and then there's internal team proposals here for making proposals. And the only one in there right now is the token compensation revamp, which is we had been, no worries. We had been very early on in Hamza distributing tokens using a system called Coordinate. And Coordinate, thanks, Mike. Coordinate, please refer to the picture that Mike put in the chat. Coordinate was a system where we just assigned each other, and the team was like small enough at the time to just assign each other how valuable we thought everybody's contributions were over the course of a month. No worries, John. I'm very happy you're on a mountain, and I hope it's lovely and exhilarating. John's currently on vacation in Japan and seems he's having a lovely time. Thank you for showing up, by the way.
I don't think he can hear. He might hear.
But yeah, so we might hear using Coordinate. What?
He might not be hearing us, I think, but
no worries. So we had been using Coordinate, and it just became cumbersome. There was a lot of issues. Especially, it became weird to see how everybody was valuing you. Is a very strange way to do general compensation. I've seen other teams that have used it for bonus compensation, which is a place where it maybe makes a bit more sense. But when we're talking about distributing the core team rewards, token rewards for working on an early stage Web3 project, we decided it just didn't make a lot of sense. And so we had distributed a bunch of tokens to teams But then we had yet to come up with a system for how do we get those tokens that have been distributed to the teams down to actual individuals. And so the proposal outlines a way to how we decide how much tokens people get for the work that they do. And the simple way of looking at it is that it allows people to choose how much of their work they want to be like as a contractor. Say you're making the industry standard rate for your position is like $10,000 a month. You can choose to take less than the industry standard rate and take a certain percentage of what you would be making in tokens, and that has a linear multiplier based on how much you take. So I think we're limiting on either side 20% and 20%, meaning the most you can take in tokens is 80%, and the most you can take in fiat is 80%. So you have to take at least 20% of either. And the closer you are to the maximum, so if you take all in cash and none in tokens, or all in 80% in cash and 20% in tokens, then your token allocation will have no multiplier. Whereas if you take 80% in tokens and 20% in cash, then the 80% in tokens you will get will be multiplied by, I think it was 2 or 3 or something like that. But yeah, so what we need to vote and decide on is whether or not we think that's like a fair system of allocating tokens versus cash to people. So please, yeah, if anybody has any comments or any questions, please raise your hand, ask to come on stage, and we can have a discussion about it.
So while we wait for that, I could just bounce some ideas. I mean, we have talked about this. I mean, there's been I don't know, what do we call it? The Foundation Shadow Council? What's the term for the foundation? I mean, there's been
The Shadow Council.
The Shadow Council has discussed this, has, I believe, all agreed to this, and so the next step is having. So is this like a vote? Does everybody have to vote? How do we pass this, or is there just what is the process for this being approved?
I think we should have a public comment period, and then everybody who would be affected by it should vote on it. Similar to how we did the token allocation discussion and vote. If you remember back in, I want to say that would have been July or August. It was a similar process, but like a little bit less formalized, where I wrote a long proposal for how we should do the different token allocations between the team and investors and community and everything like that, and how much should be assigned to each person, what weight we should give to the coordinate rounds that we had already done, and then how much we should allocate to teams. I produced that. We had some discussions about it, whether or not we thought it was fair. We made some revisions, and then we had sort of a general vote, but we just did the vote in Kumbaya. And so I think this should follow a similar track, but we should start formalizing our voting process as if we would be voting on chain, because eventually we will be voting on these sorts of proposals on chain. And so we just need to get into the practice of doing it. And so, I think a proposal should be written. It should be brought up and discussed in the town hall, and it should be open for comment for quite some time, and then a vote should be called. And I think the first hurdle is clearing the Shadow Council, and then making sure, and then once the Shadow Council is fine with something, then we can put it to the larger community, anybody who is a voter or has tokens, to get their approval. Maybe that's something that we can do in this. In fact, it's probably something that we should do in this Discord. You can think of this as like the Hamza governance Discord and the Hamza platform Discord. Obviously, there'll be some places for sellers and everything like that, but we should probably migrate the governance of this platform to there. Yeah, Jose, what's up?
What's up, Bo? How are you?
Nothing much, man.
I just have a question on the part of the percentage of the Hamza token that us contractors would receive. So what are the options after we have this token? I mean, can we exchange it for something? Do we stake it? What follows from that?
So not so much about like the proposal itself, but like what happens when you get given the token?
I guess, yeah, like exactly. Almost like a liquidity question. Is it liquid? Is it locked? I think is kind of.
So right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I think right now we're talking about pre-launch token. And so I think that this probably is a different answer. I think the short and easy answer is, I don't know, right? But that is not to say that I don't have an idea. It's just that like there's a lot before we're able to say for sure what that means. So I'll take the question in like two phases. The first is, okay, the immediate future where we're working before the token is launched. And I think there's still some things up in the air about what that token launch looks like. Like there's some things that we need to iron out in terms of which token people will get, how much of which token they'll be entitled to upon launch. But like, let's say for simplicity's sake that we're only talking about the Hamza token, and that it's the pre-launch version of the Hamza token. So when the token's launched, the allocation that'll be given to the team. So like right now, we're all accruing tokens that will be distributed upon like the Hamza token launch. The team distribution will follow like the cliff and vesting curve that we determine for the team and for the investors, and it should be the same. So there'll likely be a percentage of the token that is liquid immediately, and then there will be a percentage that is vested over a certain period of time, whether that's like 1 year or 2 years. And it'll come in the form of the like staked governance token. But yeah, I mean, after like the cliff investing period is cleared, then it becomes liquid. And I think again, that is going to look like the redemption token that we've talked about in Hamza. And so this is where we get into the area of like, there's a lot of things like sort of still up in the air and things that have not quite been decided yet, and development stuff that needs to happen. But if we're also launching the decom token at the same time, then some of that, like the fact that you have been getting the Hamza token means that you'll be entitled to some of that airdrop as well. It'll probably be like a smaller percentage, but maybe more like relative to the total circulating supply at the time of launch. But that will also have to follow some cliff and vesting curve. So some of it will be liquid, some of it will not. And again, I'm pretty sure that's what I would be advocating for, but we don't have any of this set in stone. So none of this is like for sure, but that's likely what it'll look like. And then there's like this question of, okay, so that's now pre-token, but we will have a system for determining token versus cash compensation for contractors post-token launch as well. And I think that the answer to that might be different, right? I think it'll follow the same framework where if we accept this idea that contractors can sort of choose what percentage they want based on an industry standard pay and the amount of like, discount they're willing to take on an industry standard pay. I think that if we accept that framework, then we'll probably still have it post token launch. But the question of whether or not that token, when you're awarded it, is liquid is like that's a little bit farther off than I have a good answer for. Does that help? Does that clarify?
Yeah, that was my other question, actually. If you had a system for converting stablecoin or other tokens into that new token, and you pretty much clarified that, because having a certain percentage of your compensation in that token presupposes that there is some such mechanism in place, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about it's different because the mechanism by which like those let's say those notes are convertible is different in the case of the two separate tokens, right? And this is we know that this has always been the plan. The question is like sort of timeline here, but and again, I think that this will be the case. But the conversion of the Hamza token, right? It's going to be more of an internal token and private equity share, right? So the convertibility of the Hamza token is within the platform and within it's like redemption from the vault. The gas token, however, the decom token, which is required to pay the fee, the call fees, vote on product catalog, is required to initiate a dispute, like those sorts of things for the like public goods infrastructure that we're building. The convertibility base of that is going to be based on liquidity, right? And so it'll be something that you can trade on a DEX if you wanted to, or you could stake it. But yeah, the percentage of which, like that, when we're giving it to contractors, the percentage of it that will be immediately vested versus, or like immediately staked or locked versus how much is liquid when we give it to contractors, it could be 100%, could be 0%. It could have a cliff vesting schedule. I don't think I've thought that far yet. But yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to hear what you think it ought to look like. It's a tough balance, right? Because when we give out the Hamza token, it's convertible for treasury assets. And so it would be just like sort of paying out of the treasury. And so then what's the point of someone not taking just cash, right? Because if you think about it, so think about this scenario. We give out the Hamza token according to this, and we give someone 50% in cash for their contractual work and then 50% in the redemption token. But the 50% in the redemption token is following a multiplier because it's not all being taken out in token. If we gave it out and it was not locked, then they could just immediately convert and end up taking home in cash more than if they had just taken 100% in cash. I don't know if everybody's following that logic, but that would be the functional, how it would work and function. So it seems to me that when we're giving out the Hamza token, it should be true that it's in some sort of locked form, because the idea of taking token as opposed to cash is that you're deferring some of your reward for a higher percentage of something of this this staked token, or a higher ratio of the staked token according to the industry standard pay. And so it wouldn't make sense to just give it out and allow it to be immediately redeemable. I think that question is different when we're talking about the decom token, but because the decom token, then it's okay, well, you could sell into the liquidity that exists, you could convert it, maybe it wouldn't be as much. I think logically it probably should have some sort of cliff or vesting period, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess, Jose, I don't know if you said you didn't have time to read the proposal. The point is that you have, at least what it says, and I think the core part of it is you have to, everybody working in this company, or this, what do you call it, in this organization will have to receive at least 80%, at least 20% of either side, max 80% of either side. So you're going to have to receive at least 20% in cash, or quote unquote cash, and or 20% in tokens. So if you're very you really believe in this, and you don't need maybe cash short term, you could go as high as 80% in token. If you're the other side and you're very conservative and you just want the short term stability, the most you could get is 80% in stable cash, and 20% of your total compensation would be in token. I think that's a core part of this proposal. And there's also this formulas for how to figure out the compensation. And I think it was very well written. Bo, I think he got some inspiration from other sources, but he came up with this. And that's basically, I hope people here understand. So no coordinate anymore for those that were here for the coordinate, like Bo says. This would be how people are getting token, and they can decide how much of their total compensation would be in token versus quote unquote cash, to the 80-20 maximums range. Is that clear? I mean, please still read the proposal, but I'm trying to simplify it for those that hadn't seen it yet.
Yes, of course, I'll read the proposal, but yeah, I get it now. It's a way of supporting community growth. That's how I see that. Supporting the organization growth, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, it is, but it's also a way of what I would say is the idea is to award people in equity, right? Or award people in voting power, right? And this is distinct from when we're talking about token sales, right? Because that's sort of the problem you run into legally when you're talking about crypto and token sales is when you're trying to do a public token sale of equity of a platform, right? But that's different when you're doing when you're rewarding a contractor with, or rewarding an employee with equity within the company. And so it's, the idea being that you can work for just more power within the system, and the system should be able to reward you with that. And so we don't want to make it, I think, immediately convertible to cash, because that's the whole point of allowing people to choose how much they need in cash versus how much they want in power. or want in token and everything like that.
Okay, that's clear now.
So, Bo, do we give some kind of deadline or time frame? I mean, I'll just try to push this along. How much time do you think people should have for reviewing and?
I will send another message today, and then let's say it should be accepted, like we should have a vote by next Monday.
Okay. So the 17th of February, 2025. Okay. Cool. Please, others can, I think you have to request, but we can just let you come up on stage and you can ask. We want you to be comfortable with this.
Where do we vote? Where do we vote, Bo? Where do we vote for this?
I'll set up, I think, so Fred and Heidi, I think this is a job for us this week, is we need to think about how to do some voting in this, like how to do it through Discord. We can set up a meeting about this because we could also do it via snapshot, and we could distribute some tokens to people, some like sort of placeholder tokens to enable the like snapshot voting. But let's look into what the best way to do a vote on a proposal is would be, because I mean, like, there's a simple way, which is we could look at if you look at the proposal, you can react to the proposal, and we could just do like reactions, upvote, downvote, right? But we could also do it, yeah. So like, if you look at the proposal I just did, left a thumbs up on it, and we could do it that way, where we're looking for just simple upvote, downvote, and we could do a channel all on its own, where it moves from proposal to actual voting. But yeah, I mean, long term, we'll do something else. But yeah, Fred, Heidi, please message me after the town hall, and we'll have a quick chat about it. Sick. Okay. Well, are there any other comments on the proposal? Comments, questions?
Or just
If not, then I'll open it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, I don't. I was just saying, or any other feedback. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If not, then if there's any, then I can open it up in general. If there's any questions about Hamza, the progress that we've made, things you'd like to bring to our attention, questions from your mic, then yeah, please raise your hand and come on stage.
If not, I have some seeded questions that people might either not know to ask, or I could prep for to seed it. All right, I could break the ice to ourselves, but I think people should prepare. I don't know if we should do a vote. We'll probably start to move to stablecoin from Bitcoin soon. So I don't know if we want to give people a choice sooner. We've talked about that, but we were worried to make it too complicated. But we will be moving towards a USDC or USDT stable in the near future, I believe.
Yeah, that is true. We will start to be doing Ethereum-based payments on Optimism in the next few months, which is sort of natural, right? Like, given that all of like our revenue is on Ethereum chains, and it's all coming into a vault and a DAO managed by Hamza, like all our smart contracts are deployed on Ethereum. And so this transition was inevitable. But yeah, I mean, maybe this is something else that we need to make a proposal about, just in terms of like, what do people actually want to be paid in, right? Because we could standardize it, and we could just say that everybody gets paid in USDT or USDC. I know I would prefer not to be paid in USDT or USDC, but yeah, I mean, I wonder what people's preferences are. I mean, obviously, it's like the rates that we pay out at are in US dollar terms. And so it makes it pretty simple in terms of conversion. So we don't have to think about like what the 5-day moving average of Bitcoin is. But I wonder, do people actually, would they prefer it in USDC or wrapped Bitcoin or Ethereum, or maybe a topic for another day? But if anybody has any questions or comments on the subject, please feel free.
Yeah, food for thought. But I guess I just vote for simplicity. I mean, I'm not as involved as you are in the process, but it takes a decent amount of brain power and resources. So I just worry to have too many choices adds too much complexity and even cost of time, right, and resources. So that's just my thought. But yeah,
True. No, I mean, and it's simple enough, right? Like, sorry, I think the simplest way to do it, honestly, is to pay people in Ethereum because it is standard, but it also means that like if a person wants something else, right? Like they can do the swap themselves. It's on Optimism, so it costs basically nothing. But paying out in ETH means that people can swap it for stable coins immediately if they want to, but it also avoids the case where they don't have any like ETH in their wallet to like pay gas fees.
True.
So like that's the only counter argument I have there. But like I also think that shouldn't be like a huge issue. Everybody should know that they need like a couple of cents of ETH on Optimism in order to make swaps and transactions.
I've been sharing a couple of crazy. I don't know, for some reason the MetaMask account feeds in my Twitter now, but they have account abstraction. I think it's only on on mainnet though, but they do gasless swaps and bridging natively in MetaMask now.
Hmm.
Yes, Huasca just said the same thing, but I think it's only mainnet as of what I just saw. I saw that same thing, Huasca, but I think it was mainnet only for now. But I'm sure they're probably
Who's sponsored? Is it MetaMask?
I mean, it's from the official MetaMask account on Twitter, and they put like a little short video and an announcement. Literally, like at least I saw it like last week.
Hmm.
And then I saw another one about the bridging. I think that was even over the weekend or late last week. So you can bridge the L2s from mainnet inside MetaMask, which I know has been painful for us. So that should be. That's what I'm actually bullish. I know people have been picking on Ethereum. I don't want to get too off topic, but this whole bridging and account abstraction, I think, is getting solved pretty quickly.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Huasca's putting some links in chat.
No. I just saw. Yeah, that's crazy though, right? Like, I mean, I guess it's maybe not that much in the grand scheme of things, but like, if MetaMask is just like sponsoring swaps on mainnet, like swaps on mainnet are like can get pretty pricey.
Well, I don't think that they
Like,
pay the fee. I think they pass the fee in the other currency. I think. So if you're swapping in USDC and the gas is $30 on mainnet, you'd pay $30 USDC, I believe. It's not they don't.
Okay, so they're not transactions; they just pay it in. Okay. So it's just like I could have $1,000 in USDC, and they'll sponsor the transaction, but then take the value of the gas fee in USDC. That makes sense. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. If there's no other questions or comments on anything, I don't know. Do you guys want to talk about like we have a little bit of time, and I wouldn't mind talking a little bit about some of the projects that I'm like following right now, and some like dropping a little bit of like crypto alpha. I mean, I don't know if anybody has any suggestions or if they've been looking into any projects that they think look promising.
I mean, I literally, as we've been talking, I sometimes get, I'm addicted to Twitter on my phone. I scrolling just now, and Arthur Hayes just said on Twitter if he's showing Barachain, and it just did their TGE a few days ago, and it went from like $15 to like $5 in like a day. And he says, note to projects, when working with market makers and exchanges, please do not go out to maximum value at launch. Give room for your user. Yeah, he says don't do what they did. He says like, and I hope we do that. I really hope. We're trying to be organic, but basically saying is give some upside for your retail buyers, right? Don't put it at max value. I think we complain about. I don't want to call out too many projects, but I think some other projects. It also hurts the project's reputation because people remember that in a community.
Yeah, I mean, look, that said, I'm watching Barachain. Like this is the thing, is like I got a little bit of the airdrop. I definitely want to buy more. And I'm actually kind of happy that it's been going down in price. Because I think that I don't know, this is one of the projects I was gonna mention because I've been watching Barachain for like a long time, and I'm excited that they finally like launched. And so has anybody like fucked around on their dexes or anything like that?
No.
Well, I was thinking about running a validator because they're like
No, keep going. That's awesome.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I do think it's a good team, like with a good marketing budget. I think they bungled the launch a little bit, but I generally have some pretty good faith in their ability to drive liquidity to the chain, and I think that's like maybe the better metric rather than like pure token price, because they did just give out like a big airdrop and a lot of people just sold immediately. And yeah, I mean, like I think Arbitrum did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So when Arbitrum launched, huge airdrop like to a bunch of people, and their price, the token price went down, but their token price has like doubled or tripled since then. And so, I mean, I don't know. I like Barricade.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I haven't followed the project too.
launching.
I just remember they had, how I remember them, they had like bikini girls with huge bear masks running around at conferences and on jet skis or something. Wasn't that the
Yeah,
same?
Barricade baddies.
Yeah, the baddies.
Yeah.
So, Bo, when are we gonna do that for Hamza and Decom?
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know that we're going the sex sells route that Barricade did. I mean, I wrote them off for like a long time until I met some of the developers, and then talked to like some other friends in the space who were just like, look, man, like their tech is actually pretty legitimate, and then yeah, I think it's a novel concept, a novel L1, and I think that they like are good at hype marketing. And so I think that that's like sort of what you need in this space to be really successful. But I don't know. It's tough. It's also tough when you're talking about launching another L1, right? Like L1 competition is hard. And it begs this question of like, I'll be talking to someone tonight who Mike said will try and convince me to launch launch Decom as a Cosmos side chair, like whatever they're called.
Yeah, it's an L1. They say it's your own L1. They call it L1.
Right. So I don't know. It's like it's a tough game to break into. But all right. Well, unless anybody has anything else, I mean, please post any alpha in the chat, any memes or degenerate gambling moves to make. I'm always welcome. But yeah, other than that, I think we can call it a town hall.
Nice. It's exciting. Like, I'm definitely happy we got these going again. We had a good flow. I know Jose really enjoyed them, and I did, and many others. Should we give an expectation for length? Meaning, this is almost perfectly matched an hour. Should that be a time? I mean, should we just let it go as long as it? If some I remember were at more than an hour. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if we should fix a time or not. I don't know if you have an opinion.
I think that I think that they should be like sort of fluid. I mean, I think we should fix a time just because like scheduling, especially across like multiple continents and time zones, is just difficult, right? So having fixed times and expectations for how long people and how long they should be there and everything like that, I think is a good thing. But I think that, yeah, sometimes we'll just have more to discuss. And I think as long as we should maybe have some like caps, right? Like it can only go maybe 2 or 3 hours long if people are really engaged and we have a post or like a proposal that's like particularly controversial, or if we really need to figure some things out. But I think for now, like we're easing into some more transparency, easing into a little bit more community engagement and governance processes. So I think an hour feels pretty cozy. And yeah, hopefully we'll have more. Hopefully over time, yeah, these become something that we have to dedicate more time to because they're either really interesting or just because there's a lot that needs to be decided and discussed.
Okay, fair point. Yeah, Jose's enjoying. He wants more of these. I'm just reading some comments. Great. All right. Well, have a good rest of your day, Bo, and I'm probably gonna get the kids to bed here. And thanks everybody for your time. It was a fun one. So next one so should we just say it now? The 24th, same time, Monday.
Yeah. 2 weeks I think sounds reasonable. Well, Oscar, yeah, thanks for making it, man. Thanks for everyone else showing up. I will talk to you guys later.
All right. Ciao.